Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New. I'm coming at you on this Thursday. It is gloomy, and that is fitting, but you know what? The sun still shines if you look at the bright side, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But first and foremost, as always, let me send out positive vibrations and blessings to everybody. And I'm in a good mood because, as we all know, the Los Angeles Lakers took on the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks on yesterday. And of course, the Bucks had Chris Middleton return to the lineup, who had been out due to some contact tracing. They also, Portis was in the lineup. So pretty much their championship, Drew Holiday, Middleton, Giannis, everybody was there. It was a national TV game, and of course, you knew Milwaukee was going to come out and perform. A lot of people thought the Lakers was going to get mollywopped yesterday, like they had got against Chicago at home the other night. But of course, the Lakers came together and played a much better game, and I just want to get into some of the details on that and what I feel like I've been telling everybody. I know a lot of times you say you can't take anything away from a loss, but there's definitely a lot of things that I can take away from this loss. One of the main things that stood out to me was the play of THT. I know the other day in the loss to Chicago, he had his career high 28 points, but your boy said that those were a lot of meaningless points, and I feel that they were. Those points weren't anything that was just, it was a lot of them in garbage time where, you know, they pretty much was getting handled by the Bulls the entirety of the game, whereas against Milwaukee, THT had a lot of timely buckets and was there when he needed to be, as far as hitting some big shots and being able to do what he does, get into the lane. And he made some great defensive plays. He was a lot of high energy, diving to the floor for loose balls, playing defense, getting in open lanes, active with his hands. So it was a lot of great things that THT showed me on yesterday, which I think is a bright spot for the Lakers, especially once LeBron James comes back, because that is going to take a lot of the ball handling duties off of LeBron James, and of course off Russell Westbrook, which was another bright spot in the game. And I know a lot of people would say how, especially considering they lost and Westbrook just didn't go ham for a lot of points. But if you take a look at what he did throughout the game, he only had 3 turnovers, which that was good. And I'll say a couple of those turnovers weren't necessarily his fault. It's just that players couldn't handle the pass, and one of them was a really good steal by Milwaukee. So Russell Westbrook, he was a little more efficient with the ball on yesterday as far as taking care of the ball, but he had 15 assists. And that's the thing, the Lakers don't need for Russell Westbrook to go out here and hit threes. I keep telling people that they only need Russell Westbrook to be able to penetrate to the lane, break down defenses, and be able to kick to open shooters who can make 3-point shots. So either and or slash to the basket, creating an easy 2, or getting fouled and going to the line, which he has showed he is still more than capable of doing at this point in his career, and kicking it out to the open shooter. And he was more than capable of doing that, and that's how he had 15 assists. But I will say this, the Lakers still could have won that game. And I'm going to get to Anthony Davis in a minute, don't worry. But the Lakers still could have won that game because Westbrook assists instead of 15 should have been 20. Because the Lakers missed so many open shots. And as soon as I get high on Wayne Ellington, saying how much of a sharp shooter Wayne Ellington is, he goes out the other night and gives a horrible performance, I think 2 out of 8. And then last night gets you 1 for 7. And not only did Ellington get you 1 for 7, Malik Monk gave you 1 for 7 too. So you're talking about a combined 2 out of 14 from 2 of your best 3-point shooters on your team. So let's just say Middleton and Drew Holiday would have shot 2 for 14 from 3. They wouldn't have won the game. And the thing about this is why I'm not overly concerned is because you're going to have your off nights, and shooters are going to get in slumps. If you know anything about basketball, shooters going to get in slumps sometime. You saw LeBron came out the gate hitting threes the first few games, just going ham from the 3-point line, like 50-some%, and then he came back down to earth, you know, and hit a slump. Carmelo recently hit a slump. You know, he always on fire at home, but on the road, not so much. And I think maybe he shot 2 out of 10 for 3 last night. So had the Lakers, I mean, they only lost by 7 points, and it was close in the end. I think it was a very atrocious call by the refs on a particular play with like 4 or 5 minutes left. It was still a 4-point game, and Milwaukee had the 4-point advantage. I think there was some great defense played. I can't remember who it was. Was it Bazemore? Maybe Monk had went in the air to challenge a shot, and he came down from the shot. And when he came down from the shot, he didn't land in his area. He made sure he didn't land in the shooter's area. There was really no contact, and to me, it was not a foul. And Frank Vogel was livid. But at this point, dumb Vogel had already wasted one of his challenges earlier on a foul to me that, it could have gone either way. And I think it was a waste of a challenge, and I don't think he should have challenged in that particular situation. However, if he would have saved it, you save the challenges from when you know. You understand what I'm saying? Like when you absolutely know. I really don't care what point of the game it is. You might want to do it, but you got to realize under 2 minutes, they're going to review out-of-bound play, things like that. So you really want to save that challenge to when it's a close game and you may really need it, or until you absolutely know for a fact that wasn't a foul. You understand? Like even a 3-point shot, maybe they should have challenged that when they called a phantom foul on the 3-point shot, maybe in the second quarter, I believe, that sent Middleton to the line for three shots, or either Holiday. It was one of them, sent them to the line for 3 shots. That was absolutely not a foul. The replay showed it, but yet for some odd reason, Vogel didn't challenge because he probably said, "Oh, it's early in the game. Let me save my challenge." Well, if you could take 3 points off the board, which I think the shooter ended up missing a shot anyway, so they only got 2 out of it. But at the end of the day, I think he should have saved that challenge. But of course, Milwaukee goes to the line and hits 2 more free throws to push that lead up by 6, and the Lakers, couldn't really recover from that. And I'm not saying that was the whole thing, but also, there was calls in the game that to me were questionable. There's a lot of late whistles, and I'm not blaming us on the referees, so don't get it twisted. I'm not blaming us on the referees. I'm just pointing out my observations, and we all know Anthony Davis on the M1 on the dunk should have been a free throw, and he didn't even get it when Giannis came to challenge, and AD was able to finish with the dunk, and they did not call the foul. So that right there alone, that point, if you think about it, and then THT blew a bunny at the end too, because even when they cut it, they had cut it back down to 5. THT had a chance to hit a bunny that would have cut it to 3. And Westbrook, of course, missed a free throw late in the game, and I just feel like the Lakers were right there, and considering that they didn't have LeBron James, then they did pretty damn well on the road against the defending champion team. So I know a lot of people might think, that the Lakers put a fork in it, Westbrook, trade them, all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't think so. But now, let me just get down to the nitty-gritty real quick. So, the nitty-gritty I want to get down to is the Anthony Davis and Giannis matchup. So, as we all know, Anthony Davis, now I did a top 35 countdown. I don't know if y'all noticed this, but I did a top 35 countdown, which I'm still not through with. I still got to finish 5 through 1. Trust me, it's coming very soon. Trust me. But if you notice, I had a few current players in my top 35. Giannis was in, of course. James Harden was in. Steph Curry was in. Kevin Durant was in. We got one more player that's going to be in, but we ain't got, you probably know who that is. We hadn't got to that yet. But my point is, all those players I just named, Giannis was in there. Who wasn't in there? Anthony Davis. Do you think for 1 second I'm going to put Anthony Davis in the top 35? What has he ever done on his own? And dumbass, smooth brain, LeBron hating people will keep saying that this Anthony Davis team and he leading it and he carrying it. But lo and behold, here we are again. No LeBron James. Anthony Davis has been present for all of these games. And what are the Lakers? 3-5. And 2 of these games coming against the lowly Oklahoma City Thunder. And damn near gave one away against Houston. So, listen, this is not, Anthony Davis is not, to me, a top 50 player of all time. He has a high PER, don't get me wrong there. And a lot of that has to do with his first 7 to 8 years in the league, especially with New Orleans, because of the style of play that they had to play with him being pretty much one of the only go-to guys. Of course, they did have Drew Holiday for a stint, but anyway, not getting into attention on that. But my point is, maybe a year and a half ago, when the Lakers won the championship, whenever it was, a couple years ago in the bubble when they won the championship, you had people out here saying that Anthony Davis was better than Giannis, and Anthony Davis this, and Anthony Davis, listen, I know Giannis not doing it by himself, and he got two great players with him. The addition of Drew Holiday has worked out fabulous for them because he plays great defense on the other end of the ball. And of course, Chris Middleton is an all-star, and Drew Holiday is all-star worthy. So, he definitely has some help. But the thing is, Anthony Davis, man, you have to be more aggressive. I mean, in the first quarter, you came out, established yourself well, had 8 points. You understand what I'm saying? In the third quarter, you came out the locker room, established yourself well, had another 8 points. But then, in the fourth quarter, you only had 2 points. In the fourth quarter, you only had 2 points. And the thing is, it was times in which you could have taken over and you had the ball. It might not have been in your sweet spot down lower, closer to the bucket, but you can hit from 15 to 17 feet. And then when you have a smaller player caught on you in a pick and roll, and I know a lot of people focus in on that during the game, but it wasn't just once this happened. But, you have a smaller player focus in on you on the pick and roll, and what do? You got Middleton on you in the paint, and you kick it out to THT. And the crazy thing about it, Connaughton is sinking off of his man Monk. You could have easily kicked it back to Monk, I would think, for a better shot than THT from the corner, although Monk had been shooting pretty terrible for the game. THT had hit a few threes, but at the end of the day, you're only down by 6. I think at that point, it's still like 3 minutes left. So all buckets are valuable. All buckets are valuable, and what you should have did was hit over the smaller player and had confidence in yourself instead of passing it out, looking for another 3, when knowing that the Lakers were absolutely atrocious from threes on yesterday. And I just feel like, the Lakers have players, and I'm going to continue to say this, the Lakers do have players that are more than capable of hitting threes, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's just not going to be your night. And last night was one of those nights. So considering that Wayne Ellington went 1 out of 7, and considering that Malik Monk went 1 out of 7 from the three-point line, and the game was still that close at the end with the chance to win, and it was a horrible play call, from the referee. But back to the Anthony Davis thing, Anthony Davis and Giannis Antetokounmpo, it's not even close. It's not even close. And I know Giannis, he in just a 40% three-point shooter, but you can tell he has gotten a lot better. And when he plays against the Lakers, he shoots it at a high clip for whatever reason. But my thing is, whenever Giannis shoots a 3, and you sitting here watching as a viewer, you're thinking, oh, yeah, this might just go in. And you can tell, but whenever Anthony Davis shoot a 3, you holding your breath. Every single time you are holding your breath, because you just don't really know if it's going to go in, and you just thinking, oh man, why are you shooting this? Because he has not developed into a good three-point shooter. I mean, not even a decent one. So at the end of the day, he doesn't take a lot. Maybe he should start taking more. And this is why I'm telling everybody who was talking that ish to the great champion like me, is you had Marc Gasol under contract for $2 million, but you bring in DeAndre Jordan, and you got Dwight Howard, and you see how that's working out for you, because there's nothing wrong with having 2 big men that can be rim protectors when you need it, because when it's time to match up, because there's going to come a time when you need to match up like that. But for the most part, the NBA now is played with spreading the floor. So if you, for the first few games of the year, you didn't even do what you said you were going to do and start Anthony Davis as the center, Frank Vogel. You didn't even start him as the center. You were starting DeAndre Jordan as the center. So if you had a Marc Gasol, and people can say what you want about Marc Gasol, at least he was capable of hitting three-point shots. At least he was capable of spreading the floor as a big man, because when they are playing with Anthony Davis and spreading the floor, that is what's giving Russ all the opportunities to be able to drive to the paint and taking the big man out of the paint so Russ can get down into the paint and make plays for himself and for others. But you haven't done that. Barely. Now you're starting to start him at center. But if you would have had Marcus All and still want to start a big at center and that AD played the four, you could have still been doing the same thing and spreading the floor without AD, maybe getting more to his sweet spot. But at the end of the day, the Lakers, Anthony Davis, I don't think it's too much to worry about, because without LeBron James, these teams are double and triple teaming Anthony Davis. And that's all going to change once you have a LeBron James back in the lineup. And LeBron James is capable and has a good chemistry with Anthony Davis to be able to get it to AD sweet spot. He can get it to AD sweet spot down low, closer to the basket, especially in mismatches. Even down the court, Anthony Davis come down on the pin down. You see that a lot from him and LeBron James, even the alley-oops, things of that nature in the pick and roll. One thing I noticed as far as the Lakers defense in the first half, they were not, they weren't really switching. They was allowing Giannis to drive to the hole and have easy finishes, and more so in the second half, they were switching on the pick and roll, which caused some problems for the Milwaukee Bucks. But when they switched and you got a smaller player on Giannis in the paint like a THT, when you switch, instead of, if you're not able to fight through the screen and switch, then you have to have help come from the strong side, and they simply were not doing that. Or if you are willing to get caught up in the switch and they take advantage of it without you forcing a turnover, then what you need to do is don't foul in that situation. THT, it was a couple times where you got caught in on the switch and got stuck with Giannis down in the paint. Why are you fouling? You're going to make the layup anyway. You're not strong enough to stop him from making it, so you're going to foul him and give him and one opportunities. I mean, Giannis shone bright like a diamond last night, and Anthony Davis, not so much. Anthony Davis was nowhere near aggressive. He didn't get to the line not one time, although he should have had the one free throw from the and one, or should have been an and one that wasn't. But Anthony Davis has got to be a lot more aggressive. But to me, he never has been. And of course, he was holding his hip last night, like, oh, my hip. Like, it's always, something wrong with Anthony Davis in that regard, as far as, his hip or his knee or his thumb, or it's always something. But at the end of the day, LeBron James is slated to come back Friday night. And now if LeBron James comes back and then the Lakers start losing a lot of games, then holler at me. But the Lakers have never been good without LeBron James. The Cavs have never been good without LeBron James. The Heat have never been good without LeBron James. Any team that LeBron has been on has struggled mightily to get into the win column when LeBron James was not playing. Any team. So hate it or love it. Hate it or love it. But it's facts. You understand what I'm saying? And Anthony Davis, should have been more aggressive. And of course, Frank Vogel, I don't understand what you were doing. You just trotting out any lineup. I don't know what the hell that fourth quarter lineup was. You finished the third quarter strong. The Lakers, that was another bright spot. They've been getting blasted in the third quarter, just totally blasted. But they finished the third quarter on a good, sweet run and closed it down. And it was a close game coming into the fourth quarter. But then you decide to put out Rondo, Malik Monk, Bazemore, and DJ. For whatever reason, I do not know. I figured you wanted to just have one big in the middle and then surround them all with shooters. I think Wayne Ellington was in that lineup as well. So you just had all these smalls surrounding a big. And of course, you got ran out the gym for those first 3 or 4 minutes of that fourth quarter, because that made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. And to me, I feel like Anthony Davis is still pretty young. Sometimes you got to play more minutes. LeBron James, he's carried heavy loads and played damn near whole games a lot of times in his career, especially when he was in his 20s, family. So, I mean, AD, how about start him in the fourth? When you see that Giannis isn't in there, you have to be able to take advantage. Just like the other day when Kevin Durant and Harden were still in the game and Steph had to go sit, the Golden State bench, they still took advantage of the situation. Brooklyn wasn't able to take advantage of Steph Curry going to the bench. And the same way, the Lakers couldn't take advantage whenever Giannis was on the bench. Because if Giannis was on the bench, and you bring in AD, then who they gonna have to match up with him? And then you can go on a run. Make the coach force his hand. Bring in AD. Oh, I'm gonna sit him till he comes in. Why? He dominating his ass. So you could have brought in AD, and then y'all might could have went on a 6-7, 10-0 run, 12-2 run, or whatever, and that would have forced them to bring Giannis in. Or at least have Russell Westbrook on the floor. You resting Russell Westbrook and AD at the same time. When you have two superstar players, and I know a lot of people don't want to call Russ a superstar player right now, but when you have two superstar players, then you can stagger them. I mean, damn, it's not rocket science. You should have had Westbrook on the court with the other players. He already had 15 assists. Maybe he could have got them some easy looks. And without Giannis there on the court, he could have been penetrating to get some easy buckets. But of course not. Frank Vogel, man, I don't know what to say about you, man. You got to get yourself together. You could definitely still do a lot of work as far as what you do, as far as your lineups are concerned. I think defensively the Lakers are getting better as a team and will get better. But, you know, the Lakers, they finished the game 0 for 16 on threes. They ended the third quarter, they missed 5 threes in a row. Then in the fourth quarter, you shot 0 for 11 for 3. 0 for 11 for 3, and you lose by 7. So how about if they're not falling, let's get the ball inside to our so-called dominant big man. How about that? But of course they did not. And, you know, it is what it is at this point. But, you know, LeBron will be back. And when he does, mark my words. And the words of Biggie, like he say, laugh now, cry later. Laugh now, cry later. Until we see each other again, man, this your boy B New, right on to the real. And much love to these haters. I'm out.